My painting, The Hands Resist Him, has become an enigma, a symbol of the unknown that continues to fascinate and frighten. It all began with a simple concept, a boy, a doll, and a doorway. But somewhere in those familiar elements, something unsettling took hold. The painting has been called haunted. Stories and rumors swirl around it, fueled by personal accounts and internet folklore. While I never intended to create a vessel for fear, I understand the power of suggestion and the human tendency to seek explanations for the unexplainable. The painting depicts a young boy, modeled after myself at age 5, standing before a glass door. His small frame is dwarfed by the large, imposing door, creating a sense of vulnerability and isolation. The glass door acts as a barrier, separating him from the world beyond. His expression is vacant, almost trance-like. It's as if he's lost in thought, or perhaps seeing something that others cannot. This vacant look invites the viewer to ponder what might be going through his mind. Beside him stands a life-size doll, its eyes wide and staring. The doll's presence adds an eerie element to the scene, blurring the lines between reality and imagination. Her hands are not doll-like, but resemble human hands, and they press against the glass as if seeking entry. This detail makes the doll appear almost lifelike, adding to the unsettling nature of the painting. The door, a transparent barrier between the viewer and the figures, adds to the unsettling atmosphere. It creates a sense of separation and longing, as if the figures are trapped in a world just out of reach. The viewer becomes an observer, peering into a scene that feels both familiar and deeply unsettling. This perspective forces the viewer to confront their own feelings of isolation and curiosity. The background is a blur of muted colors, representing the undefined space the figures inhabit. This abstract backdrop enhances the dreamlike quality of the painting, making it feel like a scene from a distant memory or a forgotten dream. I painted The Hands Resist Him in 1972. During a time when I was deeply exploring my own artistic identity. Drawing inspiration from a childhood photograph and my own memories, I sought to capture a moment that was both personal and universal. The boy in the painting represents innocence and vulnerability, a reflection of the fragile state of childhood, while the doll, with its unsettling presence, embodies something unknowable, perhaps even threatening, hinting at the darker aspects of our psyche. The hands pressing against the glass symbolize a desire to break free, to escape the confines of our own limitations. They represent a yearning to cross over into our world, to bridge the gap between the known and the unknown. As an artist, I've always been drawn to the surreal and the symbolic, finding beauty in the mysterious and the enigmatic. My goal is to evoke emotion and spark the viewer's imagination, to make them feel something profound and unexplainable. With The Hands Resist Him, I tapped into a collective unconscious, a shared human experience that transcends individual memories. This painting resonates deeply with many people, touching on a primal fear of the unknown that we all carry within us. Over the years, numerous accounts have surfaced claiming that the painting is cursed or possesses supernatural qualities. Some claim to feel uneasy or threatened while in its presence. Others report experiencing strange occurrences, such as objects moving on their own or sudden temperature changes. While I cannot confirm or deny the validity of these claims, I find them intriguing nonetheless. Art has the power to elicit strong emotions and even trigger subconscious fears. It's possible that the painting acts as a conduit, amplifying existing anxieties and beliefs. In the year 2000, a peculiar event took place that would forever change the way we perceive art and the internet. The painting known as The Hands Resist Him gained widespread notoriety when it was listed for sale on eBay, the online auction site. The accompanying description detailed strange and eerie occurrences associated with the painting, further fueling the flames of mystery and intrigue. The auction quickly went viral, attracting bids far exceeding its estimated value. People were captivated by the bizarre story, and the eBay legend cemented the painting's status as an internet urban legend. It became a meme, a symbol of online horror stories and digital folklore. The painting's eerie reputation grew, blurring the lines between fact and fiction. People couldn't tell what was real and what was fabricated. The internet provided a platform for the painting's story to spread like wildfire, reaching a global audience and sparking countless discussions. It solidified its place in popular culture, becoming a part of the digital age's collective consciousness and a testament to the power of the internet.
Arthur Flegenheimer. It's not a name that rolls off the tongue, it doesn't exactly scream kingpin, but that's exactly who he became. The Bronx streets were his classroom. Poverty and violence were his teachers. He learned fast, he learned tough, Prohibition hit. It was an opportunity for a young man with ambition and no fear. Booze was outlawed, but America still wanted to drink. Flegenheimer changed his name to Dutch Schultz. He wasn't Dutch, but it sounded tough. He built his empire on illegal booze. He was ruthless and cunning. He became a legend. Schultz wasn't just a bootlegger, he was a businessman. He saw opportunity everywhere. He ran gambling dens and prostitution rings. He had his fingers in everything. He was making millions, and he was making enemies. The more powerful Schultz became, the more paranoid he got. He knew the feds were after him. He knew his rivals wanted him dead. He trusted no one. He needed a plan to protect himself and his fortune. That's where the story of the buried treasure begins. Liquor wasn't Schultz's only trade. He knew how to play the numbers. Literally. The numbers racket. A simple game. A penny could win you a fortune. It was hugely popular, especially in poor neighborhoods. Schultz saw its potential. He took over the New York numbers game. He ran it with an iron fist. He bribed cops and politicians. He threatened and killed anyone who got in his way. The money poured in, millions of dollars, more than he could spend, but the heat was on. Thomas Dewey, a young ambitious prosecutor, was determined to take down organized crime. He had his sights set on Schultz. The walls were closing in. Schultz needed to protect his wealth. He couldn't trust banks. He needed a safer place. He came up with a plan, a desperate plan. He would bury his fortune, millions in cash and bonds, hidden somewhere it couldn't be found, a secret he would take to his grave, or so he thought. Paranoia gnawed at Schultz. The feds were closing in, his rivals were circling. He couldn't trust anyone. He needed to hide his fortune. He chose upstate New York, secluded woods and small towns, the perfect hiding place. He traveled with trusted men. They carried suitcases filled with cash, bonds, and jewelry. No one knew the exact location. Schultz wasn't taking any chances. He had a plan, a deadly one. The treasure was buried, a secret buried with it. The men who helped Schultz disappeared, never seen again. Did Schultz silence them to protect his secret? It wouldn't be out of character. He was a ruthless man. He wouldn't hesitate to eliminate anyone who posed a threat. Schultz's paranoia was justified. His enemies were closing in. He met his end in a hail of bullets. His dying words were a jumbled mess. Were they clues to his hidden fortune, or just the ramblings of a dying man? Section 4. The Dutchman falls silent. A killer's bullets end an empire. The Palace Chop House, Newark, New Jersey, October 23, 1935. It was a night that would go down in gangster history. Dutch Schultz, the feared kingpin, walked into an ambush. Gunfire erupted. Schultz went down. He was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. He clung to life for 22 agonizing hours. His dying words were a torrent of delirious ramblings. Don't drop the ice cream cone. Get me up, they're beating me. Nonsense or a coded message? Police hoped to glean clues from his ramblings. Was he revealing the location of his hidden fortune? They brought in stenographers and experts. They analyzed his words, hoping to crack the code, but it was no use. Schultz took his secrets to the grave. The legend of the buried treasure lived on. It became a tantalizing mystery. Was it real, or just a gangster myth? Treasure hunters and historians were determined to find out. They followed every lead, every rumor, every whisper. Section 5. The legend lives on. The enduring allure of Schultz's lost millions. Dutch Schultz is long gone, but his legend lives on. The story of his buried treasure continues to fascinate. Millions of dollars, hidden somewhere in upstate New York. It's a tantalizing thought. Treasure hunters still search, armed with metal detectors and shovels. They comb through old maps and documents. They follow every lead, every rumor, hoping to strike it rich. But so far the treasure has remained elusive. Is the treasure real, or just a myth? Some dismiss it as a tall tale, but others believe. They point to Schultz's paranoia, his vast wealth, his sudden demise. It's easy to imagine him stashing his fortune away. The mystery continues to captivate. It's a story of greed, violence, and the allure of lost riches. Will the treasure ever be found? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure, the legend of Dutch Schultz will live on. Catherine Kitty Genovese was a young woman living in New York City in the early 1960s. She was known for her vibrant personality and independent spirit. Kitty worked as a bar manager and shared an apartment with her partner Mary Ann Zielonko in the Kew Gardens neighborhood of Queens. On the night of March 13, 1964, Kitty's life was tragically cut short as she returned home from work. It was late, around 3 o'clock in the morning, when Kitty parked her car near her apartment building. As she walked towards her door, an assailant, Winston Mosley, attacked her, stabbing her twice in the back. Kitty screamed for help, and her cries drew the attention of some neighbors. Lights flickered on in nearby apartments, and a man shouted from his window, causing Mosley to flee. However, Mosley returned a short time later. He found Kitty collapsed in the hallway of her building and continued his brutal attack. Kitty was stabbed multiple times and died from her injuries. The attack lasted approximately 30 minutes. Mosley was later apprehended and confessed to Kitty's murder and other crimes. The murder of Kitty Genovese sent shockwaves through New York City and beyond. However, it was the way the story was reported that turned it into a national sensation. 2 weeks after Kitty's death, the New York Times published an article with the now infamous headline, "37 Who Saw Murder Didn't Call the Police." The article claimed that 38 of Kitty's neighbors witnessed the attack and failed to intervene or call for help. The story painted a grim picture of urban apathy, suggesting that people had become desensitized to violence and indifferent to the suffering of others. The image of 38 silent witnesses became seared into the public consciousness, shaping perceptions of urban life and individual responsibility. In the years following Kitty Genovese's murder, the narrative of 38 apathetic witnesses began to unravel. Later investigations, and a 2016 documentary, The Witness, revealed that the initial reporting was flawed and exaggerated. The actual number of witnesses who saw the entire attack was significantly lower than reported. While some neighbors did hear Kitty's screams, many were unsure of what was happening. They may have thought it was a domestic dispute or a drunken brawl. At least one neighbor did call the police, contrary to the initial reports. Furthermore, it was discovered that a friend of Kitty's, Sophie Farrar, rushed to her side as she lay dying. The New York Times eventually acknowledged the errors in their initial reporting, issuing partial retractions in 2004 and 2016. While the original narrative has been largely discredited, the impact of the Kitty Genovese case continues to resonate. The Kitty Genovese case had a profound impact on the field of social psychology. Psychologists John Darley and Bibb Latané were, really intrigued by the case and went on to conduct experiments to understand why people might fail to help in an emergency situation. Their research actually led to the identification of the bystander effect, which is also known as Genovese syndrome. The bystander effect suggests that, the presence of other people can actually decrease the likelihood that an individual will intervene in an emergency. This happens because responsibility becomes diffused among the group. Each bystander tends to assume that someone else has already called for help, or that maybe someone else is more qualified to assist. The public outcry over the Kitty Genovese murder, fueled by the inaccurate but powerful narrative of widespread apathy, led to significant changes in emergency response systems. In 1968, the United States implemented the 911 emergency call system, making it way easier for citizens to report crimes and emergencies. Additionally, many states enacted Good Samaritan laws, which provide legal protection to people who assist someone in need, even if they make a mistake while trying to help. These laws were really intended to encourage bystander intervention by reducing the fear of legal repercussions. The murder of Kitty Genovese remains a haunting reminder of the complexities of human behavior and the power of narrative. While the story of 38 apathetic witnesses has been debunked, the case continues to spark debate about individual responsibility, community, and the role of the media. Kitty's brother, Bill Genovese, dedicated much of his life to uncovering the truth about his sister's murder and challenging the narrative of apathy. His search for answers is documented in the film The Witness. The real story of Kitty Genovese is a tragedy, but it also serves as a catalyst for understanding the bystander effect and the importance of accurate reporting. The case is a stark reminder that we must be critical consumers of information and question narratives that confirm our biases. It also highlights the need for compassion and the courage to act when we witness injustice or someone in need. The legacy of Kitty Genovese reminds us that even in the face of tragedy, we have the power to create positive change.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another deep dive into history. Tonight we're diving into a story about Argentina, a nation with a rich yet turbulent history. It's a story about a country grappling with a dark past, trying to reconcile with its history. It's about a law that cast a long shadow over justice, affecting countless lives. Let's talk about the law of due obedience, a controversial piece of legislation. Picture this: Argentina, 1987. The streets are bustling, but there's an air of tension. Democracy has returned after years of brutal dictatorship, bringing hope and uncertainty, but the wounds of the past are still fresh and the pain is palpable. The nation is haunted by the ghosts of the disappeared, those who vanished without a trace. This is where the law of due obedience comes in, offering a twisted kind of peace, a controversial solution. Imagine a law that basically says, hey, if you were just following orders during a genocide, you're off the hook. It's shocking, right? Yeah, it's as messed up as it sounds. The implications were profound and disturbing. This law, my friends, is a prime example of how countries try to move on from atrocities, often with mixed results. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. The past has a way of catching up. Buckle up, because we're about to unpack this whole mess, and it's going to be a wild ride. Before we get into the law itself, we need to understand the horror show that was the Dirty War. From 1976 to 1983, Argentina was ruled by a military junta. These guys were like the fun police, but instead of confiscating your boombox, they made people disappear. We're talking about systematic torture, forced disappearances, and state-sponsored terrorism. Think of it as a super dark, real-life version of that movie. But instead of one night of madness, it went on for 7 years. Students, journalists, activists, anyone deemed an enemy of the state was fair game. The junta called it a process of national reorganization. We call it what it is, state terrorism. Fast forward to 1983. The junta's grip on power finally crumbled. Democracy, like a phoenix from the ashes, rose again. But here's the catch. Dealing with the legacy of the Dirty War was a huge, messy problem. How do you even begin to hold people accountable for such widespread atrocities? Trials began. Some high-ranking military officials even faced justice. But there was a problem. The military still had a lot of power. They were like that friend who loses a game and threatens to take their ball and go home. Only this time the ball was the threat of another coup. Enter the law of due obedience, passed in 1987. This law was a pivotal moment in Argentina's history, aiming to address the aftermath of the military dictatorship. This law was like a get-out-of-jail-free card for lower-ranking military personnel. It essentially provided immunity to those who were simply following orders during the dictatorship. The logic? They were just following orders. This rationale was meant to absolve them of responsibility for their actions, no matter how heinous. You see the problem, right? It basically let a whole bunch of people off the hook for some truly horrific crimes. The public was outraged, seeing it as a gross miscarriage of justice. The law argued that lower-ranking officers couldn't be held responsible for carrying out orders, even if those orders were to, torture and murder people. This created a culture of impunity. It's like saying, my boss told me to throw this trash bag in the river. I didn't know there was a body in it. The absurdity of the defense was clear to many. Except instead of a trash bag, it's human rights, and instead of a river, it's a mass grave. The consequences were dire, and the scars of these actions are still felt today. Section 5. A fragile democracy under pressure. So, why would a newly democratic government pass such a law? Well, imagine trying to rebuild a house while someone's holding a sledgehammer over your head. That was basically Argentina's situation. The military, still smarting from their loss of power, was a constant threat. They were basically like, pass this law or else. The government, still finding its footing, felt the pressure. They argued the law was a necessary evil, a way to appease the military and prevent another coup. Basically, it was a gamble, sacrifice, some justice now, hope for more stability later. Section 6. A chorus of outrage, domestic and international condemnation. The law of due obedience wasn't exactly met with cheers and confetti. Human rights groups were outraged. Imagine spending years fighting for justice, only to have the government say, just kidding, some crimes are too inconvenient to prosecute. Not cool, Argentina, not cool. Internationally, the reaction was similar. The United Nations and human rights organizations around the world condemned the law. It was a black mark on Argentina's return to democracy, a sign that maybe they hadn't quite learned their lesson. Section 7. Stalled justice, the chilling effect of due obedience. The law had a chilling effect on human rights trials. With a stroke of a pen, countless cases were stalled, investigations were dropped. It was a major setback for accountability and a slap in the face to the victims and their families. Justice delayed, as they say, is justice denied. The message was clear. Some people were above the law. It created a culture of impunity where perpetrators of horrific crimes could sleep soundly in their beds, knowing they were unlikely to face consequences. Section 8. Breaking the shackles, the repeal and the return to accountability. But here's the thing about truth and justice. They have a way of bubbling back up, even after you try to bury them. In the 2000s, Argentina finally decided to stop sweeping its dirty laundry under the rug. The law of due obedience, along with other amnesty laws, were declared unconstitutional and repealed. Finally, this paved the way for a new wave of trials. Prosecutors armed with renewed purpose reopened old cases. Finally, some semblance of justice for the victims and their families seemed within reach. Section 9. The long road to justice. Lessons from Argentina's struggle. The story of the law of due obedience is a cautionary tale. A stark reminder of how fragile democracy can be when faced with the ghosts of its past. It's about the fragility of democracy and the long, hard fight for justice. A fight that is often fraught with setbacks and challenges. It shows how societies grapple with the sins of the past and the dangers of sacrificing accountability for the sake of stability, a stability that is often illusory. Argentina's journey reminds us that there are no easy answers when it comes to transitional justice, and that the path to reconciliation is often winding and treacherous. It's messy, it's painful, and it takes time, often more time than anyone would like to admit. But one thing is clear, true reconciliation cannot be built on a foundation of impunity, for impunity only breeds more injustice. Justice delayed is justice denied, and the wounds of the past cannot heal without the balm of accountability. And sometimes the only way to move forward is to confront the darkness head-on, to face the uncomfortable truths and to seek justice, no matter how long it takes.
The early 20th century was a time of immense change and upheaval, particularly in Asia. The once mighty Ching dynasty, which had ruled China for centuries, was crumbling from within, weakened by internal strife and external pressures. In 1911, the dynasty finally fell, ushering in a period of instability and fragmentation. Warlords vied for power, and a young republic struggled to find its footing. Meanwhile, across the East China Sea, Japan was undergoing a dramatic transformation of its own. Once a secluded feudal society, Japan had embraced modernization in the late 19th century, rapidly industrializing and building a powerful military. With its newfound might, Japan embarked on a path of imperial expansion, seeking to secure resources and establish dominance in Asia. Japan's growing ambitions brought it into direct conflict with China. The situation was a powder keg waiting to explode, and the fuse was lit on a seemingly ordinary summer night in 1937 at a seemingly insignificant bridge just outside the ancient city of Peking. The Marco Polo Bridge, also known as the Lugu Bridge, stood as a silent sentinel over the centuries, a testament to China's rich history and a vital link between Peking, the former imperial capital, and the outside world. By the 1930s, the Marco Polo Bridge had become a point of strategic contention. Located in a strategically important area southwest of Peking, the bridge controlled a key route to the city and was vital for both defense and communication. Following the occupation of Manchuria, Japan sought to expand its control over northern China, and the Marco Polo Bridge stood as a strategic obstacle to their ambitions. Japanese troops began conducting increasingly provocative maneuvers near the bridge, testing the resolve of the Chinese forces stationed there. The stage was set for a confrontation that would have far-reaching consequences. The night of July 7, 1937, descended upon the Marco Polo Bridge like any other, the air thick with summer humidity and the chirping of crickets. Unbeknownst to the soldiers stationed there, this seemingly ordinary night would mark a pivotal turning point in history, forever etching the bridge's name into the annals of warfare. As darkness enveloped the surrounding countryside, Japanese troops from the nearby Fengtai garrison were conducting night maneuvers, a common occurrence that had become increasingly frequent and provocative in the tense atmosphere. During these exercises, a Private Shimura Kikujiro of the Japanese army went missing, last seen near the Marco Polo Bridge. The Japanese, alleging that Private Shimura had been abducted by Chinese soldiers, demanded access to the nearby town of Wanping to search for their missing comrade. As tensions escalated, a shot rang out, its origin lost to the confusion and darkness. Section 4. From Skirmish to Inferno, the Marco Polo Bridge incident ignites war. The initial exchange of fire at the Marco Polo Bridge, though brief, ignited a chain reaction that rapidly spiraled out of control. Both sides, fueled by suspicion, fear, and years of simmering resentment, rushed to reinforce their positions. What began as a localized skirmish quickly escalated into a full-blown military confrontation. The Japanese, using the disappearance of Private Shimura as a pretext, launched a full-scale attack on Wanping and the surrounding Chinese positions. The Chinese, determined to defend their territory and fueled by a surge of nationalist sentiment, fought back fiercely. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, they inflicted heavy casualties on the Japanese, refusing to yield. News of the fighting spread like wildfire, igniting outrage and anti-Japanese sentiment throughout China. The Second Sino-Japanese War, a conflict that would last for 8 long years and claim millions of lives, had begun. Section 5. A World Engulfed, the incident's global significance. The Marco Polo Bridge incident, while seemingly a distant conflict in the Far East, sent shockwaves that reverberated around the world. It marked the beginning of the Second Sino-Japanese War, a conflict that would become deeply intertwined with the larger conflagration of World War II. The incident exposed the impotence of the League of Nations, already weakened by its failure to address earlier acts of aggression by Japan, Italy, and Germany. Despite condemning Japan's actions, the League offered no material support to China, further emboldening the aggressors and contributing to the global slide towards war. For the United States, the incident presented a strategic dilemma. Japan's aggression, coupled with its alliance with Nazi Germany, raised concerns about the rising tide of authoritarianism and militarism. The Marco Polo Bridge incident served as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of global affairs and the dangerous consequences of unchecked aggression. Section 6. Voices from the Abyss, Personal Stories of the Marco Polo Bridge Incident. The Marco Polo Bridge Incident, like all wars, was not merely a clash of armies and ideologies. It was a human tragedy that touched the lives of countless individuals, leaving an indelible mark on their souls. One such story is that of Wang Ming, a young Chinese soldier stationed at the Marco Polo Bridge on that fateful night. He recalled the chaos and terror of the initial Japanese attack, the deafening roar of gunfire and the sight of his comrades falling around him. Despite being wounded, Wang fought bravely, his courage fueled by a deep love for his country and a determination to resist the invaders. Another poignant story is that of Li Hua, a young woman living in a village near the bridge. She remembered the fear that gripped her family as the sound of gunfire shattered the night, forcing them to flee their home and seek refuge in the countryside. These personal accounts provide a glimpse into the human toll of the Marco Polo Bridge incident, reminding us that behind the statistics and battle maps lie individual lives forever altered by the horrors of war. Section 7. The Legacy of the Bridge, Remembrance and Lessons for the Future. The Marco Polo Bridge stands today as a solemn reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression. It is a place of remembrance where visitors from China and around the world come to pay their respects to the fallen, to reflect on the horrors of war, and to pledge to work for a more peaceful future. In China, the incident is commemorated annually as the start of the War of Resistance against Japan, a pivotal moment in the nation's history. The bridge itself has been preserved as a historical site, its bullet-scarred stones and reconstructed guard towers bearing silent witness to the events of that fateful night. The legacy of the Marco Polo Bridge incident extends far beyond the realm of history. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of nationalism, militarism, and the failure of diplomacy. It underscores the importance of dialogue, understanding, and cooperation in resolving international disputes. Imagine a time when the power of the atom promised a brighter future. The 1950s were a period of immense optimism and innovation. People believed that nuclear energy would revolutionize the world, providing endless possibilities for progress and prosperity. This was the atomic age. It was an era marked by a fascination with all things nuclear. From energy to medicine, the atom was seen as a key to unlocking a new era of human achievement. The 1950s buzzed with excitement about nuclear energy. Scientists and engineers were making groundbreaking discoveries, and the public was eager to learn more about this mysterious and powerful force. It was during this time that the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab hit the shelves. This unique toy was designed to educate and inspire young minds, offering a hands-on experience with the wonders of atomic science. This wasn't your typical chemistry set. Unlike other toys of the era, the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab included real radioactive materials, allowing children to conduct genuine scientific experiments. It was a toy that promised to unlock the secrets of the atom. With detailed instructions and a variety of experiments, it aimed to demystify nuclear science and make it accessible to the younger generation. Children could conduct real experiments with radioactive materials. They could explore the principles of radioactivity and gain a deeper understanding of atomic energy. They could measure radioactivity with a Geiger counter. This hands-on approach allowed them to see the effects of radiation firsthand, making the abstract concepts of nuclear science tangible and exciting. They could even watch atoms decay before their very eyes. This visual representation of atomic processes brought the invisible world of nuclear physics to life, sparking curiosity and wonder. The Atomic Energy Lab was marketed as the ultimate educational toy. It was more than just a plaything. It was a tool for learning and discovery, designed to ignite a passion for science in young minds. It aimed to inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers. By providing a glimpse into the world of atomic energy, the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab sought to cultivate a lifelong interest in science and innovation. The atomic age was a time of great hope and also great fear. It was an era marked by the duality of human ingenuity and the potential for unprecedented destruction. The world had just witnessed the devastating power of the atom bomb, a force capable of leveling entire cities in an instant. The sheer magnitude of the atomic bomb's destructive capability left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness of humanity. Yet amid the fear and uncertainty, there was also a sense of wonder and possibility. It was a time of incredible scientific discovery. Researchers and scientists were delving into the mysteries of the atom, unlocking secrets that had been hidden for millennia. The potential applications of nuclear energy seemed boundless. Nuclear energy held the promise of cheap electricity and even cures for diseases. The idea that this powerful force could be harnessed for the betterment of humanity was a tantalizing prospect. People were fascinated by this new frontier of science. The allure of the atom captured the imagination of the public. From school children to seasoned scientists, they wanted to learn more about it. Educational programs and science fairs became popular as people sought to understand the potential and the risks of this new technology. The Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab capitalized on this fascination. This unique toy set allowed children to conduct their own experiments, bringing the excitement of the atomic age into the home. It brought the excitement of the atomic age into the home. Families gathered around these kits, exploring the wonders of nuclear science together. Parents saw it as a way to give their children a head start in the burgeoning field of nuclear science. They believed that understanding atomic energy would be crucial for the future. little did they know the risks involved. The excitement and optimism of the era often overshadowed the potential dangers, leaving many unaware of the true implications of playing with atomic energy. The A.C. Gilbert Company was known for its innovative toys. Founded in 1909, the company quickly became a household name, revolutionizing the toy industry with its unique approach to learning and play. Alfred Carlton Gilbert, the company's founder, believed in learning through play. A former magician and Olympic gold medalist, Gilbert's diverse background fueled his passion for creating educational toys that were both fun and instructive. He created toys that sparked children's imaginations and taught them about the world around them. His philosophy was simple: children learn best when they are engaged and having fun. The Erector set and the Chemistry set were two of his most famous creations. The Erector set, introduced in 1913, allowed children to build miniature structures, fostering an early interest in engineering and architecture. These toys allowed children to build structures, conduct experiments, and explore their creativity. The Chemistry set, on the other hand, provided a hands-on approach to learning about chemical reactions and scientific principles. The Atomic Energy Lab was a natural extension of this philosophy. Released in the early 1950s, it included real radioactive materials and aimed to teach children about nuclear science. It was designed to make science fun and accessible to children. Despite its educational value, the Atomic Energy Lab was controversial due to safety concerns. However, it pushed the boundaries of what was considered safe for a toy. Parents and educators were divided, with some praising its educational potential and others worried about the risks involved. Despite the controversies, the A.C. Gilbert Company left an indelible mark on the world of educational toys. Its legacy continues to inspire toy makers and educators to this day, reminding us of the power of play in learning. The Atomic Energy Lab was not your average chemistry set. It came with a variety of components designed to introduce children to the world of nuclear physics. The centerpiece was a Geiger counter, which could be used to detect radiation. The kit also contained samples of uranium-bearing ore. These samples emitted low levels of radiation. Children were encouraged to use the Geiger counter to measure the radioactivity of these samples. The kit also included a cloud chamber which allowed users to observe the tracks of alpha particles. These particles were produced by the radioactive decay of the uranium samples.
Whispers of Fate. A glimpse into the ancient art of divination. Since the dawn of time, humanity has gazed at the stars. We have pondered the mysteries of existence. We have longed to understand our place in the grand cosmic dance. From this yearning, divination was born. It's an ancient art shrouded in mystery and steeped in tradition. Divination offers a glimpse beyond the veil. It whispers of possibilities and guides us on our journey. Across cultures and continents, ancient civilizations developed unique methods of divination. They sought to connect with the divine and unveil the secrets hidden within the fabric of reality. The rustling of leaves, the patterns of sand, the flight of birds, all held deep significance. They offered clues to those who knew how to read them. Divination is more than just predicting the future. It's a way to tap into our intuition. It helps us understand the present and make informed decisions about the future. It's a conversation with the universe, a way to seek guidance and wisdom from the unseen forces that shape our lives. The Velari and the celestial tapestry unveiling the secrets of the stars. Deep within forgotten deserts, beneath skies ablaze with stars, lived the Velari. They were a wise and enigmatic people. Their lives were intricately entwined with the celestial dance above. The Velari possessed a profound understanding of the stars. They saw them not as distant objects but as celestial beings, whispering secrets to those who listened. Their knowledge was passed down through generations. They used intricate star charts and complex calculations. The Velari could predict eclipses, track the movements of planets, and forecast the changing seasons. They believed that each individual's destiny was woven into the tapestry of the cosmos, reflected in the position of the stars at their birth. The Velari were renowned for their astrological prowess. People journeyed from distant lands to seek their guidance. They sought answers to life's most pressing questions: love, fortune, and purpose. The Velari's insights were highly sought after. They were believed to hold the key to unlocking one's true potential and navigating the intricate pathways of fate. Beyond the veil, exploring the diverse paths of divination. While the Veilari read the language of the stars, other cultures developed their own unique forms of divination. The art of tarot, with its richly symbolic cards, emerged as a powerful tool for self-reflection and exploring the subconscious. Each card, from the Fool's Journey to the Wheel of Fortune's Turn, offered insights into the complexities of life and the human experience. Scrying, the practice of gazing into reflective surfaces like crystals or water, allowed practitioners to pierce the veil of the physical world. They sought visions of the past, present and future. The swirling patterns and fleeting images within the scrying tool provided glimpses into the hidden realms and offered guidance from the spiritual plane. Geomancy, an ancient form of earth divination, utilized the elements to reveal hidden knowledge. Practitioners interpreted patterns formed by casting stones or sand. They connected these patterns to the four classical elements and the energies they represented. Geomancy provided a grounded and practical approach to divination, offering insights into everyday matters and decisions. As above, so below, the enduring influence of horoscopes. The ancient belief in the interconnectedness of the cosmos and human life gave rise to the enduring practice of horoscopes, from the zodiac signs of Babylonian astrology to the complex birth charts of Hellenistic tradition. Cultures around the world sought to understand how celestial alignments influenced individual personalities, strengths and challenges. Key figures emerged, shaping the course of astrological thought. Ptolemy, the renowned Greco-Roman astronomer and astrologer, codified centuries of knowledge in his influential work, the Tetrabiblos. This comprehensive treatise established the foundation for Western astrology and continues to be studied by modern practitioners. Horoscopes evolved over time, incorporating elements from various cultures and traditions. They became more than just predictions of the future. They offered insights into personal growth, relationships, and spiritual development. Today, horoscopes continue to captivate the imagination, offering a glimpse into the self and the intricate dance between the cosmos and our lives.
John B. Calhoun was an American ethologist who dedicated his life to understanding animal behavior, particularly in relation to population density and social structures. Born in 1917, Calhoun's interest in animal behavior began in his youth, observing the intricate social interactions of birds. This early fascination led him to pursue a career in zoology, culminating in a PhD from Northwestern University in 1942. Calhoun's early research focused on wild rats, observing their territoriality and social hierarchies. His groundbreaking work in the 1940s and 50s explored the effects of crowding on rat populations, revealing the detrimental impact of high population density on social behavior and reproduction. This research brought Calhoun recognition for his innovative experimental designs and his focus on the ecological and social factors influencing animal behavior. Calhoun's work gained significant attention, particularly his studies on rodent populations in confined spaces. He conducted a series of experiments, culminating in the infamous Universe 25 experiment, which remains a controversial and widely discussed study in the field of ethology. Calhoun's research, though focused on rodents, has had a profound impact on our understanding of human behavior, urban planning, and the potential consequences of overpopulation. His work continues to spark debate and inspire further research into the complex interplay between population density, social behavior, and the well-being of individuals within a society. Calhoun's legacy lies in his ability to bridge the gap between animal behavior and human societies, offering valuable insights into the challenges and opportunities presented by a rapidly growing and increasingly urbanized world. In the late 1960s, John B. Calhoun embarked on one of his most ambitious projects, Universe 25. This experiment, conducted at the National Institute of Mental Health, aimed to create a rodent utopia, a controlled environment designed to provide laboratory rats with everything they needed to thrive. The goal was to observe the long-term effects of population growth and density on social behavior in an idealized setting. Universe 25 was a meticulously designed 101 square foot metal enclosure. It featured multiple levels, ramps, and nesting boxes, allowing for a complex three-dimensional habitat that mimicked the rat's natural environment. Food and water were provided in abundance, eliminating the need for competition for basic resources. The enclosure was also kept at a constant temperature and cleaned regularly, ensuring optimal hygiene and health for the inhabitants. Initially, 4 pairs of healthy rats were introduced to this paradise. These rats, carefully selected for their breeding potential, represented the founders of a new colony with the potential to grow exponentially. The design of Universe 25 aimed to eliminate all external factors that could lead to population decline, such as predators, disease, or resource scarcity. This controlled environment provided a unique opportunity to study the intrinsic factors influencing population dynamics and social behavior in a rapidly growing colony. Calhoun and his team meticulously documented the rats' behavior, reproduction rates, and social interactions, hoping to gain insights into the potential challenges and consequences of unchecked population growth. Universe 25, though conceived as a utopia, would soon reveal the darker side of unchecked population growth and the fragility of social structures in the face of overcrowding. The Universe 25 experiment unfolded in 4 phases, each marked by shifts in population dynamics and social behavior. The initial phase, Strive and Growth, saw rapid population growth and optimistic expansion. The rats adapted quickly, reproducing at a staggering rate. The colony doubled in size every 55 days. During the exploit phase, social dynamics shifted as the population exploded. Space became crowded, leading to competition and social stress. The stagnation phase marked a turning point. Growth slowed and social structures crumbled. Aggression and violence became common. Females exhibited erratic and neglectful behavior. The final phase, Decline and Death, painted a bleak picture. Birth rates plummeted and infant mortality soared. Many rats withdrew, exhibiting bizarre behaviors. The utopia descended into chaos and despair. Universe 25 warned of social collapse in the face of overcrowding. Section 4. Behavioral Sink, the Collapse of Social Structures. As the rat population in Universe 25 exploded, John B. Calhoun observed a disturbing phenomenon he termed the behavioral sink. This term described the breakdown of social norms and the emergence of pathological behaviors due to overcrowding and social stress. Dominant males became aggressive, attacking others, while females showed a decline in maternal care. Many rats retreated into social withdrawal, focusing solely on eating, grooming, and sleeping. The behavioral sink highlighted the fragility of social structures and the impact of overcrowding on behavior. Section 5. A Warning for Humanity, Overpopulation and Social Pathology. Although conducted on rodents, the findings of the Universe 25 experiment resonated deeply with researchers and the public alike, sparking debate about the implications for human societies. Calhoun's work served as a stark warning about the potential consequences of unchecked population growth and the importance of understanding the social and psychological needs of individuals in densely populated environments. The experiment highlighted the concept of social pathology, the idea that overcrowding and the breakdown of social structures can lead to a range of negative behavioral and psychological outcomes. Calhoun argued that as population density increases, so too do social pressures, leading to increased aggression, social withdrawal, and a decline in overall well-being. These findings had significant implications for urban planning, suggesting that simply providing adequate resources might not be enough to ensure the well-being of urban populations. Instead, Calhoun emphasized the importance of creating environments that foster social cohesion, provide opportunities for meaningful social interaction, and promote a sense of belonging. The Universe 25 experiment also raised questions about the potential impact of overpopulation on human civilization as a whole. Could the social and behavioral problems observed in Calhoun's rats manifest in human societies facing similar pressures from overcrowding and resource scarcity? This question continues to be debated by scientists and policymakers alike, highlighting the need for continued research into the complex interplay between population density, social behavior, and the well-being of individuals within a society. The Sook Ching massacre stands as a stark reminder of the brutality inflicted during the Japanese occupation of Singapore during World War II. This horrific event, which transpired in the immediate aftermath of Singapore's fall to Japanese forces in February 1942, saw the systematic elimination of thousands of ethnic Chinese civilians. This act of racial violence, driven by a toxic mix of wartime paranoia and pre-existing prejudices, left an indelible scar on Singapore's history and continues to resonate deeply within the collective memory of its people. The massacre serves as a chilling testament to the horrors of war and the enduring consequences of racial hatred. To understand the Sook Ching massacre, it's crucial to grasp the historical context. Japan, driven by imperial ambitions and a desire for resources, embarked on a campaign of aggressive expansion across Asia in the early 20th century. This culminated in the invasion of Manchuria in 1931, followed by a full-scale invasion of China in 1937. Seeking to secure its grip on Southeast Asia and its vital resources, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, effectively marking the country's entry into World War II. This act of aggression triggered a chain reaction, bringing the United States into the war and setting the stage for the Pacific War. Singapore, a British stronghold and a vital port at the heart of Southeast Asia, became a prime target for the Japanese. On the 8th of December 1941, Japanese forces launched a surprise attack on Singapore, catching the British off guard. Despite putting up a resilient defense, the Allied forces were overwhelmed by the Japanese onslaught. The fall of Singapore, just 70 days after the initial attack, sent shockwaves through the Allied powers and marked a turning point in the Pacific War, firmly establishing Japan's dominance in the region. With Singapore under their control, the Japanese military administration, driven by a deep-seated distrust of the ethnic Chinese population, implemented a brutal plan to eliminate potential anti-Japanese elements. This operation, known as Sook Ching, which translates to purge through cleansing, targeted Chinese men, primarily those suspected of anti-Japanese sentiments or activities. The Japanese military government in Singapore issued a proclamation ordering all Chinese males between the ages of 18 and 50 to report to designated screening centers scattered throughout the island. These screenings, designed to identify and eliminate potential threats to Japanese rule, were often arbitrary and brutal. The screening process was as arbitrary as it was terrifying. Japanese soldiers, often aided by collaborators, interrogated the men, searching for signs of anti-Japanese sentiment or affiliation. Evidence ranged from possession of anti-Japanese propaganda to having suspicious professions, or even simply bearing tattoos associated with secret societies. Those who failed to satisfy their interrogators, often on the flimsiest of pretexts, were swiftly separated from the group. The exact number of victims of the Sook Ching massacre remains a subject of debate and ongoing research. Historians estimate that between 5,000 and 25,000 individuals, primarily ethnic Chinese men, perished during this horrific purge. The victims came from all walks of life. They were teachers and shopkeepers, fathers and sons, students and laborers. Their only crime was their ethnicity and the perceived threat they posed to the Japanese occupation. The massacre left countless families shattered, creating a void that continues to resonate through generations. The stories of those who perished and those who survived paint a harrowing picture of the brutality of the Sook Ching massacre. One such account tells the story of a young man who witnessed the execution of his father, his last memory the image of his father's defiant gaze in the face of death. Another survivor recounted the chilling moment Japanese soldiers forced him and his fellow detainees to dig what they knew would be their own graves. These personal accounts offer a poignant and heartbreaking glimpse into the human cost of this atrocity. The Japanese military administration attempted to justify the Sook Ching massacre as a necessary security measure, claiming it was essential to eliminate potential threats to their rule. They argued that the Chinese population harbored anti-Japanese sentiments and posed a risk of rebellion. However, these justifications rang hollow in the face of the overwhelming and indiscriminate brutality unleashed upon innocent civilians. The massacre was a clear act of racial profiling and collective punishment, a violation of international law and basic human rights. While the full extent of command responsibility remains a point of contention, historical evidence suggests that high-ranking Japanese military officials were aware of and approved the operation. General Tomoyuki Yamashita, the commander of the Japanese forces in Malaya and Singapore, was tried and executed for war crimes, including the Sook Ching massacre. However, the issue of command responsibility and the extent to which individuals were held accountable for their actions remains a sensitive and complex aspect of the Sook Ching massacre. In the aftermath of World War II, the Allied powers established war crimes tribunals to hold those responsible for atrocities accountable for their actions. Several Japanese military personnel involved in the Sook Ching massacre were tried, and some were convicted and punished for their crimes. However, many believe that justice was not fully served, as some key figures escaped prosecution or received relatively lenient sentences. The Sook Ching massacre continues to cast a long shadow over Singapore. Memorials and museums stand as solemn reminders of the atrocities committed during the Japanese occupation, serving as spaces for remembrance, reflection, and education. The Civilian War Memorial, with its iconic 4 pillars, stands as a poignant symbol of the shared suffering of Singaporeans during the war, while the Changi Museum offers a harrowing glimpse into the realities of life under Japanese rule. These sites of memory play a vital role in ensuring that the lessons of the past are not forgotten. The Sook Ching massacre stands as one of the darkest chapters in Singapore's history, a stark reminder of the human capacity for cruelty and the devastating consequences of war and racial hatred. The massacre left an enduring legacy of pain and trauma, shaping the collective memory of a nation. It serves as a stark warning about the fragility of peace and the importance of vigilance in the face of prejudice and discrimination. The memory of the Sook Ching massacre serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of understanding history, commemorating its victims, and learning from its lessons. By acknowledging the atrocities of the past and honoring the memory of those who suffered, we can strive to create a more just and compassionate future, one where such horrors are never repeated. The pursuit of peace, justice, and reconciliation remains an ongoing process, a testament to the enduring legacy of the Sook Ching massacre and the resilience of the human spirit.
March 8, 2014. Kuala Lumpur International Airport bustled with life. Travelers from around the world, eager for new adventures, boarded their flights. Among them were the 227 passengers and 12 crew members of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, bound for Beijing. The Boeing 777, a symbol of modern aviation, stood gleaming under the runway lights. It promised a smooth journey. No one knew it would become the biggest mystery in aviation history. At 12:41 a.m., MH370 soared into the night sky. The first leg of the journey was uneventful. Then, at 1:19 a.m., as the plane entered Vietnamese airspace, the unimaginable occurred. MH370 vanished from radar screens. Air traffic controllers in Vietnam tried frantically to reach the plane. Silence. The Boeing 777, packed with people and dreams, had disappeared without a trace. The initial hours were met with disbelief. How could a modern aircraft simply vanish? The flight path was routine, the weather clear, yet no distress signal was received. The last communication from the cockpit was chilling in its normalcy. "Good night, Malaysian 370. These words, spoken at 1:19 a.m., became the last whisper from a ghost ship in the sky. Military radar later painted a confusing picture. It appeared MH370 had deviated significantly from its planned route, turning sharply west. This new information only deepened the mystery. Had the pilots made a conscious decision to change course, or was something more sinister at play? The world held its breath. The disappearance of MH370 sparked a global search effort unlike any other. Ships and planes from multiple nations scoured the South China Sea, where the plane was last seen on civilian radar. Days turned into weeks. Hope dwindled. The vastness of the ocean seemed to mock the search parties. Theories fueled by speculation and scant evidence ran rampant. Had the plane suffered a catastrophic mechanical failure? Was it a victim of terrorism? Or could it be something even more unsettling? Some whispered of pilot suicide, citing the deliberate course change. Others pointed to the deactivated transponder, suggesting a deliberate attempt to disappear. Every new piece of information seemed to create more questions than answers. Section 4. The search begins. The search for MH370 was relentless, driven by the desperate hope of finding answers. The initial focus on the South China Sea proved futile. Then, a breakthrough. Analysis of satellite data suggested MH370 had flown south for hours, eventually crashing into the remote southern Indian Ocean. The news shifted the search to one of the most isolated and unforgiving environments on Earth. Months of searching yielded heartbreak. Debris confirmed to be from MH370 washed ashore on the distant shores of Reunion Island, followed by other fragments in Mozambique and Madagascar. Each piece offered a grim confirmation of the plane's fate, but shed little light on the why. The world watched, captivated and horrified, as the tragedy of MH370 unfolded. Section 5. A puzzle without end. Years later, the mystery of MH370 continues to haunt us. The official investigation, despite extensive efforts, remains inconclusive. Theories persist, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Was it a hijacking gone wrong? A deliberate act by a rogue pilot? Or could there be another, more unsettling explanation? The lack of a definitive answer only fuels the speculation. For the families of the 239 souls lost, the pain is immeasurable. Years of agonizing uncertainty have taken their toll. The disappearance of MH370 serves as a stark reminder of the capricious nature of fate and the fragility of life. While the search for the wreckage has been suspended, the quest for answers continues. The world still waits, hoping that one day the mystery of MH370 will be solved, bringing closure to a tragedy that has gripped the world's imagination.
The year was 1945. World War II had finally ended, and a sense of relief filled the air. In Fayetteville, West Virginia, the Sodder family prepared for Christmas Eve. George and Jenny Sodder, immigrants from Italy, had built a happy life with their 10 children. Their home buzzed with activity, the anticipation of Christmas morning almost tangible. But the festive spirit was soon shattered. A fire erupted in the Sodder home late on Christmas Eve. Flames quickly engulfed the wooden structure. George and Jenny escaped with 4 of their children, but 5 children remained trapped. The fire raged on, fueled by the dry wood. By the time the fire department arrived, the house was smoldering rubble. No trace of the 5 Sodder children could be found. The community mourned with the Sodders, but questions began to surface. The fire was tragic, but not unheard of. What was unusual were the circumstances. The Sodders believed something was terribly wrong. They believed their children were not lost in the fire. They were taken. The Sodders soon discovered a series of unsettling anomalies that defied explanation. George Sodder, a seasoned truck driver, found his coal trucks inexplicably disabled that night. His usual route to get water for fighting the fire was inexplicably blocked. It was as if someone had orchestrated the delay, preventing any chance of rescue. Adding to the mystery, the phone line leading to the house was found cut. It had been deliberately severed, isolating the family from any chance of calling for help. A man later admitted to cutting the line, claiming he was stealing from the property, but denied any involvement in the fire. But the coincidence was too much for the Sodders to dismiss. Further investigation revealed another chilling detail: a missing ladder. George Sodder always kept a ladder propped against the house, a precaution in case of fire. But on that fateful night, the ladder had vanished. It was later found, discarded down an embankment far from its usual spot. This discovery fueled the Sodders' suspicions. If the children had escaped the fire, how could they have reached the ground without the ladder? Then there was the issue of the fire itself. The official cause was deemed to be faulty wiring, but George Sodder vehemently disagreed. He had recently had the house rewired by an experienced electrician. The fire, he insisted, was deliberately set, but by whom and for what purpose? As months turned into years, the mystery of the missing Sodder children deepened. Whispers of strange occurrences and possible sightings reached the family. A woman reported seeing them at a hotel in Charleston, West Virginia, the morning after the blaze. In 1967, Jenny Sodder received a mysterious envelope with a photo of a young man resembling her son, Louis. On the back, a cryptic message read, "Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie, Elil boys." A 90132 or 35. The Sodders hired a private investigator, but the trail ran cold. The identity of the young man and the message remain a mystery. Despite numerous leads and reported sightings, none panned out. The children had vanished without a trace. The lack of concrete evidence fueled speculation, with theories ranging from plausible to outlandish. Some whispered about a possible mafia connection, suggesting George Sodder's criticism of Benito Mussolini made his family a target. Section 4. A Family's Unwavering Hope. The Search for Answers. Undeterred by dead ends and fading hope, the Sodders dedicated their lives to finding their children. They hired private investigators, distributed thousands of flyers, and even erected a billboard along Route 16, the main highway near their home. The billboard featured large photographs of the 5 missing children, along with a plea for information and a reward. Years turned into decades, but the Sodders never gave up. They chased down every lead, however improbable, clinging to the belief that their children were still alive, somewhere. Jenny Sodder, haunted by the image of her children trapped in the burning house, dressed in black for the rest of her life. It was a constant symbol of her mourning, and her unwavering determination to find her lost children. George Sodder, equally determined, never stopped searching for answers. He passed away in 1969, his heart heavy with grief and unanswered questions. The Sodder children's disappearance became a haunting reminder that even in seemingly ordinary towns, darkness can lurk, and some mysteries may never be solved. The case attracted nationwide attention, captivating the public imagination and fueling endless speculation. Books were written, documentaries were filmed, and countless articles were published, all attempting to make sense of the inexplicable. Section 5. An Enduring Enigma. The Mystery That Refuses to Die. The case of the missing Sodder children remains unsolved to this day. It stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of hope and love in the face of unimaginable loss. The circumstances surrounding the fire, the lack of concrete evidence, and the persistent rumors and reported sightings have all contributed to the enduring mystery. The Sodder children's disappearance continues to fascinate and haunt us. It serves as a chilling reminder that some questions may never have answers, and some wounds may never fully heal. But it also speaks to the unbreakable bonds of family, and the unwavering belief in the power of hope, even in the darkest of times. The Sodder family's story, though shrouded in tragedy, ultimately reminds us that even in the face of unspeakable loss, the human spirit can endure. The mid-19th century saw a wave of Chinese immigrants arriving on Canadian shores, drawn by the promise of opportunity and a better life. Many were escaping economic hardship and political turmoil in their homeland, seeking a fresh start in a new world. Canada, with its burgeoning industries and vast landscapes, offered the hope of employment and prosperity. These early immigrants were primarily men who left their families behind, intending to earn enough to support them from afar and, perhaps one day, return home. These individuals, primarily from southern China, carried with them dreams of a brighter future, unaware of the challenges that awaited them. They envisioned a land of equality and fairness, where hard work would be rewarded. Little did they know that their arrival would be met with a mixture of curiosity, suspicion, and, ultimately, discrimination. Their journey, however, was far from easy, and the reality they faced was often harsh and unforgiving. The arrival of Chinese immigrants coincided with the ambitious construction of the Canadian Pacific Railway, a monumental project that would connect the vast nation from coast to coast. The Transcontinental Railroad was a dangerous and arduous undertaking, and labor was desperately needed. Chinese workers, despite facing prejudice and cultural barriers, stepped up to fill the void. They endured grueling hours, hazardous conditions, and significantly lower wages compared to their white counterparts. They toiled tirelessly, blasting through mountains, building bridges over treacherous canyons, and laying down the very tracks that would unite Canada. Their contribution to the nation's development cannot be overstated. The completion of the railway was a pivotal moment in Canadian history, facilitating trade, communication, and national unity. Yet, as the last spike was hammered in, marking the railway's completion, the attitude towards the Chinese workers took a turn for the worse. Ironically, the very success of the Canadian Pacific Railway, fueled by the sweat and toil of Chinese laborers, contributed to a surge in anti-Chinese sentiment. With the railway complete, many white workers found themselves unemployed and in direct competition with the Chinese for scarce jobs. Economic anxieties, coupled with existing racial prejudices, created a fertile ground for discrimination to take root. Politicians and labor leaders alike began to exploit these fears, scapegoating the Chinese community for the economic woes of the time. They were portrayed as an economic threat, accused of stealing jobs and depressing wages. This narrative resonated with some segments of the population who viewed the Chinese as different, alien, and a threat to their way of life. This climate of fear and resentment paved the way for the implementation of discriminatory legislation, the most prominent being the infamous Chinese head tax. Section 4. The price of entry, implementing the Chinese head tax. In 1885, the Canadian government, bowing to pressure from anti-Chinese groups and seeking to restrict further immigration, enacted the Chinese Immigration Act. This act levied a head tax on every Chinese person entering Canada. Initially set at a hefty $50, a significant sum at the time, the tax was a blatant attempt to discourage Chinese immigration and limit their growing presence in the country. This marked the beginning of a dark chapter in Canadian history, one that would see the systematic marginalization and exclusion of an entire community based solely on their ethnicity. The implementation of the head tax had a devastating impact on Chinese immigrants. It placed a heavy financial burden on families, often forcing them into debt for years just to afford entry into Canada. Many were separated from their loved ones, unable to reunite due to the prohibitive cost. The head tax served as a stark symbol of discrimination, sending a clear message that the Chinese were not welcome in Canada. Section 5. A taxing legacy, escalation and exclusion. The Chinese head tax, far from being a temporary measure, became a tool of systematic discrimination that was escalated over time. In 1903, the tax was raised to an exorbitant $500, effectively barring all but the wealthiest Chinese from entering Canada. The impact on families was devastating, separating loved ones and shattering dreams of a better life. The escalating head tax exemplified the growing hostility towards the Chinese community, reflecting a broader shift in public policy towards exclusion. The tax went beyond its financial implications, serving as a constant reminder of the second-class status imposed upon the Chinese in Canada. It created a climate of fear and uncertainty, forcing many to live in the shadows and endure prejudice in silence. The head tax was a cruel and discriminatory policy that left an indelible mark on generations of Chinese Canadians. Section 6. Echoes of exclusion. The Chinese Exclusion Act's enduring impact. The Chinese head tax, while a significant barrier, was not the final blow. In 1923, the Canadian government enacted the Chinese Immigration Act, more commonly known as the Chinese Exclusion Act. This draconian piece of legislation effectively barred all Chinese immigration to Canada. Families were torn apart, with those already in Canada prevented from reuniting with their loved ones back home. The Exclusion Act solidified the segregation of the Chinese community, denying them basic rights and opportunities afforded to other Canadians. The impact of the Exclusion Act reverberated through generations. Chinese Canadians were denied the right to vote, own property, or pursue certain professions. They faced widespread discrimination in housing, education, and employment. The Exclusion Act created a legacy of pain, hardship, and injustice that continues to resonate in the present day. Section 7. Resilience in the face of adversity. The Chinese Canadian spirit. Despite facing relentless discrimination and hardship, the Chinese Canadian community demonstrated remarkable resilience and determination. They formed tight-knit communities, supporting one another and preserving their cultural heritage. They established businesses, schools, and cultural organizations, creating a sense of belonging and identity in the face of adversity. Their spirit remained unbroken, fueled by a deep-seated belief in justice and equality. They challenged discriminatory laws in the courts, advocating for their rights and demanding recognition as equal citizens. Their struggle for justice was long and arduous, marked by setbacks and disappointments. Yet, they persevered, their unwavering spirit paving the way for future generations to claim their rightful place in Canadian society.